You've had a long day. You're stressed, maybe a little bored, and you whisper to yourself, I deserve this. A quick add to cart, and for a moment, you feel a rush, a little thrill, a brief hit of relief. That package arriving a few days later feels like a pat on the back for just getting through the week. But what if that little treat isn't just a treat? What if it's a silent assassin quietly taking out your biggest financial dreams? What if every swipe, every click, every treat yourself moment is another brick pulled from the foundation of the future you're working so hard to build? You might think a little retail therapy is harmless, but we're about to show you how it's actually a calculated enemy of your wealth, driven by invisible psychological triggers that turn your feelings into financial trouble. This isn't about guilt. It's about showing you the hidden battlefield inside your own mind, where fleeting emotions are at war with your long-term goals. And more importantly, it's about giving you the weapons to win. Because building wealth isn't just about earning more money. It's about mastering the decisions you make with it. And the most powerful decisions are the ones that aren't controlled by a bad mood. So, if you've ever felt that post-purchase sting of regret or wondered where your money really goes, stick around. We're about to untangle the psychology of emotional spending and put you back in control. To figure out why we sabotage our own goals, we have to understand the powerful wiring in our own heads. Our brains, in a lot of ways, are still running on ancient software. They're wired for survival, not for navigating the chaos of credit cards, one-click shopping, and targeted ads. This outdated wiring creates a series of psychological traps that make emotional spending feel not just good, but completely necessary. The main culprit here is a chemical you've probably heard of, dopamine. It's often called the feel-good chemical, but that's not quite right. It's more like the I want it chemical. Studies show the act of spending, or even just thinking about shopping, triggers a dopamine release in the brain's reward center. It's the thrill of the hunt, not the prize itself, that gives us the biggest rush. The excitement of browsing, adding something to your cart, and waiting for it to arrive is often way more fun than actually owning the thing. This creates a dangerous loop. You feel a negative emotion, stress, sadness, boredom, and your brain screams for a quick fix. Shopping delivers. The anticipation of a purchase gives you that dopamine hit. You get a temporary mood boost, and your brain learns to link spending with relief. The problem? The high is incredibly short. Once the package arrives and the novelty wears off, the dopamine fades, and you're often left with the same bad feeling, now with a side of guilt or money stress. That letdown then creates a powerful urge to do it all over again, trapping you in a cycle of compulsive buying. But it's not just dopamine. This cycle is fueled by a whole cocktail of emotional triggers. Recognizing them is the first step to disarming them. First up, stress and anxiety. When life feels out of control, shopping can create a temporary illusion of power. You can't control your boss or the stock market, but you can absolutely control what's in your shopping cart. This makes spending a super common and super unhealthy coping mechanism. Then there's simple boredom and loneliness. When you feel empty, the stimulation of scrolling online or wandering through a store can fill the void. It gives you a mission. For anyone feeling lonely, The quick chat with a sales clerk or feeling like you're part of a brand's community can offer a fleeting sense of connection. Celebration and reward are also huge triggers. Got a promotion? Finished a tough project? You tell yourself, I deserve it. And while you absolutely should celebrate your wins, making an expensive purchase your go-to reward sets a dangerous precedent. It ties your sense of accomplishment directly to buying stuff. And maybe the biggest trigger of all in our world, social influence and image. We're constantly bombarded with perfectly curated lives on social media. This can spark feelings of inadequacy and a deep pressure to keep up. We see influencers with the latest gadgets and friends on amazing vacations, and we get sucked into status spending to project an image of success, even if it means draining our bank accounts to do it. Marketers are masters at exploiting this. They don't just sell products. They sell belonging, status, and the promise of a better life. This leads right to their sneaky tactics. Marketers use urgency and scarcity with phrases like limited edition or only two left to trigger our fear of missing out, FOMO. This bypasses our rational brain and shoves us toward an impulse buy. They use social proof with testimonials and celebrity endorsements, playing on our natural tendency to follow the crowd. And finally, technology has made it all dangerously easy. The rise of instant gratification through one-click buying and buy now, pay later services has removed almost all the friction from spending. Buy now, pay later in particular has exploded. These services break a purchase into smaller, often interest-free payments, making a pricey item seem totally affordable. Merchants see a huge boost in sales, but consumers end up with what's been called phantom debt. Debt that often isn't reported to credit bureaus, making it dangerously easy to lose track of how much you actually owe. When you mix the brain's reward system with these powerful outside triggers, you get the perfect storm for sabotaging your wealth. It's a psychological battle, and winning requires a whole new strategy. So before we get into the battle plan, take a second and think. What happens right before you make an impulse purchase? Are you scrolling after a stressful meeting? Celebrating a small win? Let me know in the comments what your biggest emotional spending trigger is. Just admitting it is the first step to beating it. Breaking the cycle of emotional spending isn't about depriving yourself or living a boring life. It's about shifting from mindless, reactive spending to conscious choices that actually line up with what you want for your future. This isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. Here's a 4-step framework to help you take back control and start making real progress toward your goals. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. The first, most important step is to drag your spending patterns out of the shadows. For 1 month, your mission is to track not just what you buy, but how you feel when you buy it. The goal here isn't judgment, it's data collection. Keep a spending journal. Use a notebook, a note on your phone, works. Every time you buy something that isn't a planned necessity, like rent or groceries, write it down. Next to the item and the cost, note what was happening right before. What emotion were you feeling? Stressed from work? Bored on a Sunday? Excited about something? Be honest. At the end of each week, Review your journal. Look for patterns. Do you spend more on Fridays after a long week? Do you find yourself scrolling online stores late at night? Do you buy things to cheer yourself up after a fight? These patterns are your clues. They show you the exact situations and emotions that trigger your spending. Another power move is to conduct a financial audit. Sit down with last month's bank and credit card statements. Go through them line by line. For each purchase, ask yourself, was this a need or was this an emotion? Seeing the grand total of all those small emotional purchases can be a serious wake-up call. It turns the vague idea of overspending into a hard number, money that could have been invested, saved, or used to pay off debt. This whole process is empowering. It moves you from being passive to being aware. You start to see that your spending isn't random, it's a reaction. And once you know the cause, you can change the effect. Impulse spending thrives on speed. The real damage happens in that tiny window between the emotional trigger and the click. Your goal here is to build a fortress of time and friction around that moment. You need a system that forces you to pause and let your rational brain catch up to your emotional one. The best tool for this is the waiting period rule. Make a rule for yourself, a 24-hour, 48-hour, or even a 7-day waiting period for any non-essential purchase over a certain amount, say $50. When you get the urge to buy, don't. Instead, put the item on a wait list. Write it down where you saw it and the price. Then walk away. During this cooldown, the initial dopamine hit will fade. This gives you the space to ask the real questions. Do I actually need this? Do I own something similar? How many hours did I have to work to pay for this? And most importantly, how does this get me closer to my big goals? More often than not, after a day or two, the intense desire will be gone. You'll realize it was the emotion you were trying to fix, not a real need for the product. The second part of your fortress is intentional friction. The world wants you to spend without thinking. Your job is to add that thinking time back in. Start by deleting your saved credit card information from all your online accounts and web browsers. Just the act of having to get up, find your wallet, and type in the numbers can be enough to stop a mindless purchase. Take it a step further. Unsubscribe from marketing emails and turn off notifications from shopping apps. Those are just trigger delivery systems. If online shopping is your weakness, set specific times for browsing instead of letting it be your go-to activity for boredom. For some people, going cash only for things like entertainment or dining out is a game changer. Handing over physical cash just feels more real than tapping a card. By making it harder to spend, you give your future self a fighting chance. Emotional spending is usually just a clumsy attempt to meet a real emotional need. You're looking for comfort, relief, or excitement. The habit is destructive because you're using the wrong tool, spending, to get that feeling. The key is to find healthier, more sustainable ways to deal with the emotion itself. You need a toolkit of dopamine alternatives that give you a mood boost without wrecking your budget. Start by making a list of things that genuinely make you feel good. Then, organize that list by the trigger you're trying to fight. If you spend when you're stressed or anxious, your alternatives could be going for a brisk walk, doing a guided meditation, deep breathing exercises, blasting a great playlist, or journaling about what's stressing you out. Getting physical is especially powerful because it releases its own mood-boosting endorphins. If boredom is your trigger, you need things that engage your mind. Try starting a new hobby, diving into a good book, listening to a fascinating podcast, doing a puzzle, or tackling a small organization project at home. The feeling of accomplishment is way more satisfying than a new purchase. If you shop when you're feeling lonely, focus on connection. Your alternatives could be calling a friend, making plans for coffee, or volunteering for a cause you believe in. Real human connection provides a sense of belonging that no material object ever will. And for moments of celebration, create new rituals that don't revolve around buying things. Instead of a new outfit to celebrate a promotion, treat yourself to an afternoon off, cook a fantastic meal, or just share the good news with people you love. The goal is to have this list ready before the trigger hits. Put it on your fridge or on your phone. When you feel the urge to shop, check your list first. Pick one and do it for just 15 minutes. This rewires your brain. Instead of feel bad, spend money, you train it to feel bad, go for a walk. You start to realize that what you were really craving wasn't the stuff, but the feeling you hoped the stuff would give you. The ultimate weapon against short-term impulse is a crystal-clear vision of your long-term goals. Emotional spending happens when we lose touch with our why. We trade future happiness for a quick hit of present pleasure. To fight this, you have to make your future self feel just as real and deserving as your present self. This final step is a powerful visualization exercise. Find a quiet spot for 10 to 15 minutes. Close your eyes and imagine your life 5 or 10 years from now, after you've hit your biggest financial goals. Don't just think about the bank account balance. Think about what that money lets you do. What does your ideal day look like? Where are you living? Are you traveling? Starting a business? Are you working because you want to, not because you have to? Feel the peace and security that comes with financial freedom. Imagine the lack of stress, the absence of anxiety about money. Picture yourself generously helping your family or causes you care about. Make this vision as vivid and emotional as possible. Now, hold on to that feeling. That feeling of pride, freedom, and accomplishment is the real prize. This is what you're fighting for. Whenever you're tempted to make an emotional purchase, pull up this image of your future self. Ask one simple question. Does this purchase move me closer to that person or further away? Frame the choice not as, do I want this $100 sweater, but as, am I willing to trade a piece of my financial freedom for this sweater? This isn't about shame. It's about connecting your small daily choices to the big, meaningful life you want to build. It turns saving and investing from an act of deprivation into an act of profound care for your future self. It gives you the deep motivation you need to say no to an impulse buy because you're saying a much bigger yes to the life of your dreams. We've just explored the psychology behind why we spend and exposed the silent assassin of emotional spending. We've seen how our own brain's wiring, mixed with modern marketing, creates a perfect storm designed to separate us from our money. But that knowledge is your power. Identifying your triggers, creating a pause system, finding healthier alternatives, and connecting with your future self. This is your battle plan. This is how you go from being a passenger driven by random emotions to being the pilot of your own financial life. Look, this journey isn't about perfection. You'll have tough days. You might slip up. That's okay. The goal is progress and awareness, not a flawless record. When you do make an emotional purchase, don't beat yourself up. Use it as data. Figure out what happened and what you can do differently next time. Every time you pause, every time you choose a walk over a click, every time you put $1 towards your future, you're casting a vote for the life you truly want. Your net worth is not your self-worth. But taking control of your financial habits builds something far more valuable than money. It builds self-trust. It's proof that you can honor the promises you make to yourself. The path to wealth isn't just paved with smart investments. It's paved with mindful decisions made one day at a time. So embrace the journey, be patient, and start building that future today.